Yes, we are live right here, sportsbookreview.com. Major League Baseball opening day 2020 is upon us. The wait is over. Spring training 2.0 is over. I'll be your host all season long, along with my co-host. I'm Donnie Seymour. This is Jason Radowitz. Jason, the wait is here. I know you've been killing it in Korean baseball, but Major League Baseball sets center stage tonight. Got to tell you, buddy, I'm really excited to get going here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited too. There's nothing like the MLB. So KBL was a lot of fun. The NPB was a lot of fun. The CPBL was a lot of fun. But now we're back to the MLB, which is definitely a sigh of relief.
No, we're going to have a good time here. Let's set the table for what we anticipate will be a great season over the next 60 games right here on sportsbookreview.com. Jason and I are going to come live to you each and every day at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. The design of the show is to get in and get out with as much positive and good information that we possibly can have. And the reason why we love to come live here on the channel is because we have the chat box. We have you there. On a lot of days here, we're going to have games 10, 12, 14 games a day. There's no way we can hit all those games and break them down completely. Jason and I are going to choose a handful of games each and every day to break down whether or not we like a certain side, a certain pitcher in that, or maybe some circumstances that actually can put some more money in your pocket. But the best part about it, at the end of the show, guys, we're going to leave it up to you to ask any questions you have, any games that pop up. If Jason has a tip on the Rays, certainly ask him. If I have a tip maybe on the Philadelphia Phillies, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. We don't ask anything from you guys out there. All you have to do, there's a red box below this screen right now. Subscribe, hit the button, get on the notification bell, because every time Jason and I go live on the show right here on sportsbookreview.com, you're going to get it delivered to your inbox. And I can remember just a few years ago, Jason, that number was right around, I would say, 17, 18,000 subscribers. I'm looking right now, over 65,000 people have subscribed to sportsbookreview.com right here on our YouTube channel. We cannot thank you enough. And also, the show doesn't end when it actually goes off after 30 minutes. Jason and I are both live on Twitter. Any questions you have, reach out to both of us. Be more than happy to answer your questions, and also in the comment boxes below. It's time to get it started, Jason. I'm excited. Spring training 2.0 is over. Taking a look at the restart of the season, what are we thinking here heading into the 2020 season here, Jason?
Well, if anybody was, dumb enough to bet those preseason games, those exhibition games, I feel bad for any of you guys, because first off, in that spring training, we saw so many different scenarios that happened where the Yankees won off of tied off a Judge home run that shouldn't have been a home run. And we saw a bunch of other things where teams shouldn't have won games and over-unders didn't hit. So I feel bad for anyone who bet it. I hope that you guys won, because if you didn't, then shame on you, of course. But yeah, spring training with the 2.0 was really interesting. I don't know how much we really learned from those couple of games going into the season, but it was just good to see the faces of MLB players on the field.
No, you're certainly right, because, when you're betting, and I'm always an advocate of not betting preseason games, not betting spring training games, because I like to know what the actual stats are and the way the game is going to play out. I did find it interesting a couple times, because me with my Philadelphia Phillies playing the New York Yankees, we had 10 batters in one game. And then also you have Zach Wheeler starting, and they don't want to throw too many pitches in a game. So they actually end the inning early, and some innings gave teams 5 actual outs to complete the inning. So yes, good luck if you ran that lottery roulette wheel and won some money. More power to you. Now let's take a look at some things coming and talking some brass tacks coming into the season. There's a lot of changes, Jason, and even today we're seeing like maybe a change up in the actual playoff standings and how many teams are going to make the playoffs. But more importantly, the rule changes itself, mainly looking, Jason, when they talk to you about the impact of the DH now coming to the National League.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, we can talk about how a team like the Mets will benefit from having, a guy like Yoenis Cespedes as a DH. As an NL guy myself, I really appreciated pitchers. I like the sac bunt, bringing the guy over the second base with one out. I appreciated those easy outs for pitchers to get through, a game. And if we're talking about, about the speed of a game, well, then having a pitcher would probably help, because it's usually an easy out. So bringing the DH on might actually make these games a little bit longer. So if you're an advocate for shorter games, then maybe having a pitcher hit is a better idea. So yeah, I don't know where everyone stands on that, but I'm more of a pitcher guy hitting. So
Yeah, it's interesting because when we take a look at the National League, I'm a huge bunt guy, and I know the analytics and the people will climb all over me each and every time, but I'm always of the old school saying, look, it's late in the game, drop that bunt, get him the second, and we'll see if we can knock him in. Now, taking a look at even some crazier stuff coming up this season, forget about the DH, but heading into extra innings, the reason why they're going to put a man on second base, not just for the fun of it, and we're going to flip a coin and see how it reacts. They're trying to limit the actual innings in a short game sprint with COVID-19 and try to have less contact with players, and I understand that. But me, being a team total over better, I got to say, I absolutely love it because if you get to a game, Jason, 3-3 at the end of 9 innings, and they start stacking guys on second base, and let's just say even if you bet the total of 9, you're in still really good shape from hitting that, where maybe last year you might get a run or two and fall short of that.
Yeah, and especially on a road team. So if you're looking at a team total for a road team that gets to hit first, we always talk about how in the 10th inning we get scared when you walk the batter first off. Instead of walking the batter, now you're walking the batter to second base already. So, we're already nervous when a relief pitcher comes in, walks a guy, puts the guy in first base. We're like, oh, here we go. Well, now, here we go. The guy's already on second base to start the entire inning. So it's going to be a huge adjustment. And, of course, the overs are definitely in play for this.
Yeah, another interesting one also that we take a look at is the reliever rule comes in. No longer the specialists out there can just come in lefty on lefty. And I know you're a big Mets fan. You always take a look at Blevins, that side-winding lefty that's so hard to hit if you're a left-handed batter. Well, now he might come in and face Bryce Harper from the left-hand side, but he might have to get after, JT Realmuto or maybe Hoskins behind him batting from the right-hand side. That is a huge advantage to the hitters because no longer can you run that train of specialization in from the actual bullpen.
Yeah, and managing is going to be really, really interesting this year. We have a ton of new managers, guys that haven't managed before. It's going to be really interesting to see how they manage their bullpen and how they're able to, do many different things. Especially, we have a lot of rookies. Obviously, we've seen that, with all these different scandals, we've had to bring in new managers with new teams who don't really know their team too well, especially with COVID-19 being away from their team and trying to work through all that on Zoom. So, yeah, it can be really interesting to see how the managers go about their bullpens.
I'm always optimistic about sports and how they can carry on because it's a tough environment they have for everybody. But we're taking a look at, the PGA Tour and NASCAR, MLS and the WNBA and the NBA looking to get started. Everything seems to be on board, and they've done a really nice job in the spring training 2.0. Make sure everybody's tested, make sure everybody's separated. I'm going to ask you this quick question here because to me, I think everything's going to go as planned, and people will test positive and have to sit out and go on the 10-day. I think there's also a 3-week disabled list that they can use. But looking at the season itself, Jason, we're getting started tonight. Looks like everything is going to go off without a hitch. Do you anticipate any stoppages during the season? Or you're just going to say, you know what? They're prepared for this. They have enough players to get through it, and we'll make it through a season without getting any interruptions.
Yeah, I watched the MPB, the CPBL, the KBO all play without fans to begin, and they all had their different protocols and did their different things that they had to do. And, of course, MLB, they have protocols. They have everything in place. So, yeah, I don't expect the season to stop at any time. I think now that we have professional sports, they're here to stay. We're not losing them. Hopefully college sports come back at a different time. But professional sports, I don't think they're leaving anytime soon anymore.
No, I hear you there. And guys, if you're watching now, just signing in, if you haven't seen the show yet, if you haven't been around the channel as much, hit that subscribe button, click on that bell, get the notifications directly to you here. And also, if you're watching, because this is the first show for me and Jason here, Major League Baseball, to set it off. Again, getting through the season, we're going to get right into the games, right into the plays. But today we have a little bit extra time since there's only 2 games on the slate that we could talk a little bit about futures here, which are always fun. And we've been debating these for already 6 months. It's nice to see the actual season begin. Jason, we're going to start right away with some divisional winners. We're just going to quickly division by division. And if we take a look at the AL East and start with them, the New York Yankees, anywhere between -300, -275, depending on where you're shopping at. So again, always use SBRodds.com for all the best line movements. And also if you're placing wagers, sportsbookreview.com, take a look at who's giving the best bonuses and also get the get the book ratings there also. Yankees prohibitive favorite here, but I got to say, there's a lot of love coming in for the Tampa Bay Rays. Good starting pitching, decent fielding, and again, a little bit of a quirky team where they like to throw openers as opposed to starters in games. Is there enough value on the Rays to take them, let's just say, +300? Or is this the Yankees and just forget about it?
At this point, I would just say it's the Yankees and forget about it. Of course, if you look at that, you look at their hitting, it's just from top to bottom, the Yankees have so much talent. And now they go in and they add Garrett Cole to their pitching staff. Yeah, I don't see how the Yankees lose in the AL East. The Rays, of course, they're always a lot better than we ever expect. You look at their roster and you forget that you forget the players that they even have on the team. if you ask just an average fan, they couldn't even tell you like 3 or 4 players on the team. But yeah, they'll always be a 90-win team or above. They perform so well. But I like the Yankees here. Obviously, you have the AL East playing a lot of the NL East as well. There's the Marlins, there's the Orioles, there's the Blue Jays, there's even the Red Sox, who are really going to be shaky this year if you look at their starting rotation. So yeah, the Yankees and the Rays are the two easy favorites in the AL East. But the Yankees with their lineup and adding Garrett Cole, it takes them over the top.
Yeah, Garrett Cole stays healthy. They're going to be really tough to beat in this. And also, Jason and I will be giving plays on each and every day right here on the show. And if you miss it, always check out sbrpicks.com for all the latest content and information, and also sportsbookreview.com. Let's take a look at the AL Central here. This is one of my favorite divisions in baseball outside the NL East. We're talking Twins, Indians, White Sox, all lumped up front. The Twins, the favorite at minus 130. They don't have very many weaknesses here. And again, I like to talk about it being from a team total perspective of an over better. It was usually hard for me, Jason, to step right in and say, I love the Twins team total over 5.5 in this game in March or April, because we're playing in like 55-degree weather. Maybe the wind's blowing in and some rain, maybe even some flurries that we've seen in the past. But now we're stepping right into the hitting weather, as we like to call it in the dog days of summer. Twins minus 130. Cleveland Indians around that 260 range, and the White Sox plus 310. I love the White Sox here as a team total better. Love the 1 through 9. I think it's going to be hot in Chicago. They'll get the bats going. But is that enough, that young White Sox team, to overcome? Because the Twins, clearly to me, top team in that division here.
Yeah, coming into this season, I think everyone was really high on the White Sox. The White Sox, very young, very talented. They did a lot in the offseason to make sure that they can compete this year. But again, like we talked about, they are a young team, and who knows how they'll be able to perform, through just 60 games. I think it would have been good if they had March and April just to kind of get accustomed in the league to start off the season. The Indians are also a great team, have some great pitching with Bieber and Clevenger. They're a solid team. They could definitely upset the Twins as well. But again, the Twins, their offense has been really good last season. A lot of power. And I think that power is going to come into play, especially through this 60-game season. I think power is going to be a big play to win these games. Because you don't really want to stay on base too long. So these guys are going to be hitting for power. And the Twins haven't. So yeah, I would go with the Twins as well, but the Indians and White Sox are definitely potential upset opportunities for the AL Central.
Yeah, they should be. Those top three teams in the division should be lumping up on the Royals and the Detroit Tigers. It's nice to get put in the division with both of those teams, which certainly should be on the bottom of the end of the spectrum. Let's take a look at the AL West and wrap up the AL. And one team, look, the Houston Astros are really good 1 through 9. Even though they did lose Garrett Cole, it's a lot of steam out of the top end of their pitching staff. They're still really deep in the bullpen and also in their starting 5. I think they're getting a little bit slighted. And as I say that, they're still like minus 130 to minus 150, depending on where you shop at. But I think all the negatives that are coming out with the Astros, the cheating scandal, they sort of get knocked down a peg. But when you're trying to make money, you got to take those, rationalizations out of your head. Like, I don't like that team. They cheated. That's still a really good ball club. And to me, still the front runner. I like the Oakland Athletics. I like what they run out there. They should be able to hit. But again, frontline pitching, a little bit questionable, but they do have a very deep bullpen in Oakland. And the joke always goes around also, Jason. Hey, Oakland, there's no fans anyway there. They're going to be used to playing at home each and every day anyway out there. So I still like the Houston Astros as a favorite, not so much high on the Angels, Mariners, or Rangers, but I can see the Oakland A's being competitive here, but I just think the Astros win out at the end.
Yeah, I think that the odds makers kind of see that, or kind of think that the Houston Astros literally cheated, and got these wins off of their scandal. And now that they can't cheat anymore, the odds makers think maybe the Astros won't perform nearly as well at home this season. I agree with you. I think the Astros are obviously really talented. I don't care if they're home or they're away. If you look at their lineup top to bottom, it's really good. They still have Justin Verlander, pitching on that team. So, I like the Astros. And the Athletics are always really good. Having Frankie Montes back after his PED suspension could be interesting. He's going to get the opening day start on Friday. We'll see how he performs. If he performs the way he did last season before his PED, the Athletics, they have a lot of great talent. Through pitching. Also, the Angels, Anthony Rendon already out for the beginning of the season. So I think that kind of hurts their value just a little bit. Again, the Angels, they don't really have much pitching. That's kind of what's always been their problem. So Mike Trout can't really hold the load throughout the entire season. Of course, Otani will be there, but who knows at the end of the day. So I would stick with the Astros as well. I think that's a really good price too for a team that just looks so good on paper.
Yeah, looking at about plus 500 if you wanted the Los Angeles Angels. Also, you bring up a good point because we're in a sprint season, only 60 games. If Rendon comes out, and look, this isn't like an elbow that's a little bit sore. This is an oblique injury from a guy that's used to hitting with power and can re-injure it at any time. But also, let's take a look at Mike Trout, who opted into the season, quote unquote. But he's still going to have his baby. If he's out, and this is his first child, for even 3, 4, 5 games, that is a massive loss for the Angels. So if we're looking to say, hey, I'm going to take a shot at plus 500, there are some circumstances that come into there that might penalize that actual play if you like the Angels. Flipping it over to the NL East, the division we love here, Jason. And both of you, if you guys don't know, we are from the Northeast. He is a Mets fan. I am a Phillies fan, but yes, we can still be cordial and break down games throughout the season. Braves are the front runner here, looking at about plus 200, which is a nice price for an actual leader in a division. Washington Nationals coming in around 240 to 250, the Mets at 290, and the Phillies at around 3-1 to plus 320, depending on where you're shopping at. If we take, and again, the Marlins are still in the division, but we're not really going to spend too much time on them. This is going to be really close. A lot of people are backing up my Philadelphia Phillies, and rightfully so. The 1 through 9 looks really good. They made some nice additions in the offseason. But to me, I always like to be a realist, and sometimes I'm more harsh on my team than other teams. I like the starting pitching for the Phillies. I like the 1 through 9, Jason, but I think the bullpen is going to be their Achilles heel. With your Mets, the guy I actually wanted, Joe Girardi knows him well. Dylan Betances went to the Mets. If he goes to the Phillies, that might be a nice little change of scenery that we could have used here in the city. But I think the Braves are the best team. But I got to tell you, in the division, I did take a small play on those New York Mets.
Yeah, look, this is, like you said, a really tough division. The Braves have so much more young talent, and I think that the Braves are definitely the best team in the division without my bias. But if I had bias, I would say that the Mets have a chance. When you look at their lineup, when you have Cespedes playing the DH and he's back, Pete Alonso, obviously the power numbers that the Mets can have throughout the entire season will be impressive. But I do think Bryce Harper of the Phillies, I do think Bryce Harper figures it out in a short season. I think he could have some solid power numbers this season. Of course, the Phillies have added, the Zach Wheeler. They've added Didi Gregorius. There's some talent with the Phillies. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough one for sure. I think the Nationals are definitely they do have a good pitching staff, of course, but losing Rendon, losing Harper 2 years ago, yeah, I don't know how much Scherzer and Strasburg are able to do here for the Nationals if they don't get much offense. Yeah, Juan Soto can't really hit 10 times each game. So, yeah, for me, this is a really tough one. I don't think there's a clear favorite, and it's going to be one of the more exciting divisions through the 60 days or 60 games.
Jason, you brought up a really good point with the Washington Nationals because we know Juan Soto is an absolute flat-out superstar, but you know how easy it is to hit? Or I shouldn't say easy to hit. It's a lot more comfortable when you have guys protecting like Rendon and Bryce Harper around you. Now those two guys are gone, so if you can maybe just pitch around them a la what they used to do to Barry Bonds out in San Francisco, there's a lot to be desired in the rest of that lineup. We'll see how it plays out. NL Central, Cubs and the Reds, proverbial favorites in the division, followed right behind closely by the Cardinals. You have a nice 3-team race, but the 4th team in the division right now, odds-wise, Milwaukee Brewers have my eye here. If we take a look at the Cubs, you know what you're going to get out of them. The Cincinnati Reds, usually one of those teams that you don't really look at it. Oh, they'll hit well in the home ballpark, but they can't pitch. This team has a bullpen. This team has starting pitching. And now with the DH, they're really going to be able to hit in that ballpark. I like the Reds in this division, but value-wise, Jason, got my eye on those Brewers.
Yeah, like you said, the Reds, a ton of talent this season. They should be really good, but I just have that feeling the Reds are going to be that letdown team. That's what scares me a little bit. Of course, I'm going to take the NL Central. I'm looking at the Brewers because, again, Christian Yelich has become an MVP-like guy every single season. And the Brewers, their pitching has always kind of – you look at their pitching staff and you're like, I don't know, maybe they'll perform, maybe they won't. But they always seem to find a way. They have a closer that can close these games, especially you look at the bullpens now. When you have these extra inning games, when you have guys on base, who's going to be able to perform, which bullpens are going to be able to actually get out of these innings with a guy on second base. I think the Brewers have a little bit of talent there in the bullpen. I think the Brewers have enough to potentially get this entire division. But again, this one's a really close one as well. The Reds would be my favorite, but the Brewers, of course, would be my value play. And I do think the Brewers have a chance, especially in a 60-game season.
No, I agree with you there. If we take a look, final team or final division, the NL West out here, don't have to spend too much time on it. Dodgers prohibitive favorite, minus 500, the largest in baseball. Arizona Diamondbacks plus 600, San Diego Padres plus 750, and then the Rockies and the Giants bring up the rear. It's the Dodgers. I mean, if the Dodgers lose 3 or 4 players during the season, they're not going to miss a beat in this one. It's the Dodgers for me. It's not to say I want to lay minus 500, but I don't know how much value you're getting on the Diamondbacks or Padres here, Jason.
Yeah, no, it's all Dodgers, and I'm not putting minus 500 on it. So you're just going to take the benefits of the Dodgers during the season. Just bet the Dodgers during the season. You'll make your money there. Don't worry about the NL West, the Dodgers minus 500. Don't even look at the game total because betting game totals is pretty risky right now because you just don't know what's going to happen with some of the players and injuries and illnesses and whatnot. So yeah, don't bet the Dodgers on the NL West. They're going to win easily, but just that slight chance that they don't bother and just take the benefits from the Dodgers throughout the entire season and bet them during the season.
Absolutely. 20 minutes in, me and Jason could talk all day long, but we want to get to the big games here, which we're going to get to in just a few moments. We're going to play a little bit of speed round baseball here, and I'm going to throw a couple things out to Jason just to get a quick yes or no, or here's who I like type of answer. World Series winners. I took a long shot there, and I went with the Nationals. He said, Donnie, how could you go with the Nationals? You'd pick the Mets to actually win the division. I think if they get in the playoffs, the three guys up top can sort of carry the load and maybe get hot with some bats and carry themselves through. So I took a long shot hit on that. If we're looking at World Series, I know we could pick like the Yankees and, the front runners with the Dodgers. Is there a team that you might see one of those shots where you say, you know what, World Series, I might get a nice little price on this one to look out for?
Yeah, why not the Indians? Why not the Indians? They have a great pitching staff. A couple of guys. I feel like they developed their pitchers really well. That young pitching staff. The Indians. It's a tough division, but they get out of that division. I mean, obviously they perform really well against that tough division in the AL Central. If they win that, why not the Indians? Why can't they? Again, if you're going to pick a team in the World Series, you got to have good pitching. And the Indians, their starting pitching is very solid.
No, I hear you on that. Let's take a look. Also have a little bit of a fun wager here. Home run king. Now, usually we're saying like, who's going to hit 50? Who's going to hit 55? Who's going to break the record? Well, they only got 60 games, so not going to be that impressive when we take a look at the home run total at the end of the season. I went with Eugenio Suarez at plus 2,200 for those Reds hitting in hot Cincinnati. Any looks on who might lead the National League or the American League and be the home run king here, Jason?
I have a good feeling with Aaron Judge this year. I think if he stays healthy, he can go on tears throughout the entire season and score and have multi-home run games in maybe 3 to 5 games this season. So, yeah, I'm really high on Aaron Judge this season for home runs. Of course, my guy, Pete Alonso. But, again, it's tough when you're talking about guys that strike out so much. That's new baseball. So, guys that just do strikeouts and home runs, I don't know if the 60-game season is going to be beneficial to them.
Took some decent shots here on Cy Young winners, AL and NL. I'm going to lean on Blake Snell getting 10-1 to win the Cy Young in the AL. And for the NL, I'm going to bump Clayton Kershaw off the top of the mound and go with Walker Buehler, figuring he's going to have a pretty good ERA and chalk up some wins and be in the running. He's getting a nice price around $750 to $800. Jason, Cy Youngs, who you got?
Well, I can't get away from Jacob deGrom, of course, trying to go 3 in a row. So, of course, for me, Jacob deGrom, I can't go away from him. But on the AL side, I do like Garrett Cole. Obviously, he's the favorite. But if you're looking for another underdog, or not an underdog, but someone that could do it, again, I do like Shane Bieber. Like I said, I really like that Indians the pitching staff. So Shane Bieber would be another one.
Now, fun props that we have. I saw you tweet out a few of them a couple days ago. Just looking at some odd ones. No-hitter minus 240. I listed that as a no because you cannot have a combined no-hitter. I'm figuring maybe the 60-game sprint, you don't want to stretch your pitcher out all that far. And also having a DH in both leagues, so you don't get a couple free outs over those first 6 to 7 innings. And also, will a player get to 20 home runs minus 150? I said yes. How about you, Jason?
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I just talked about, Aaron Judge could easily do that throughout this entire season. I read an article earlier. I forget who it was from, but if I can give him credit, I will let everyone know on Twitter. But, yeah, I read this article where, through 50 games, there's usually a guy that has, 20 home runs or above in a regular season. So, yeah, I think that's a great play on the home run total. I do think a guy will have 20 home runs for sure.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Now, let's get into some of the breakdowns tonight. 2 games on the slate starting at 7 o'clock. Dr. Anthony Fauci throwing out the first pitch. And what a nice matchup we got here. Max Scherzer and also Garrett Cole. Now, look, if we're looking at, recency bias, my Philadelphia Phillies did touch up Max Scherzer in his tune-up start before tonight. But let's not let that play in. If we're taking a look on the rotation, 901, 902, Garrett Cole, Max Scherzer. I'm looking at 5 dimes right here. Always check out SBRodds.com for all the latest line movement. Get the best lines possible. Looks like we're listing about minus 135 now for Garrett Cole and a total in the game of 7.5. Maybe some rainy conditions play into this, Jason. Again, betting throughout the the season, we're going to have a little bit of time to explain, both myself and Jason, what we actually look for. But just for the preference tonight, I always look towards the weather, because if you're looking for a dominant pitching performance and it ends after 3.5 innings, all your capping goes out the window. Looking at this game overall, don't have a great feel for who actually wins, because it's very rare that we see Max Scherzer getting a plus 125 on the bump at home. I'm looking at this game more of an under, and also an under in the first half of the game over the first 5 innings. Looking at a price right now, minus, it looks like 4 at minus 120, listed at 5 dimes. You got to get 5 runs to beat me over the first 5 innings. I think both of these guys come out strong. I'm going to go with the under, Jason, of 4 in the first 5 innings between the Yankees and the Nationals. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, and that you bring up a good point. Like we talked about, if the game goes to extra innings, you add guys on base, a lot more runs can come towards later in the game. So definitely, if you're looking at unders and you like the pitching matchup, definitely look at the first 5 unders. I completely agree with that. Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. Scherzer, he's 6-3 versus the Yankees in his career with a 3.33 ERA, and the over is just 3-6 when he faces the Yankees. For Garrett Cole with the Astros last season, now he's with the Yankees. Of course, he's 30-9 as a small road favorite of minus 125 and minus 175. So he'd be up 17 units if you took him as a small road favorite throughout his career. The under is 12-5 between these two guys going up against these teams. It's a great matchup for sure. With, like you said, 2 great pitchers. I like the Yankees here on the money line at minus 130. I do think that the Yankees bats will be able to do enough damage. Maybe not early against Scherzer, but late enough against Scherzer. Or that bullpen of the Nationals. So I like the Yankees at minus 130. I'd also lean towards under 7.5. But again, look at the under 5s, before you look at the full game.
What's interesting here, too? We talked about Juan Soto getting surrounded by really good hitters, Bryce Harper and also Anthony Rendon. He's surrounded by Adam Eaton tonight and Howie Kendrick from a projected lineup of what we're looking at. And then looking at the Yankees lineup, LeMahieu, Judge, Torres, Stanton, Hicks, Sanchez, Voit, Gardner, and Urshela expected to be in the lineup tonight. Good luck, Max Scherzer here. If you're pitching really well, try to keep that team in it. But that is a deep bullpen for the Yankees and some really good starting pitching. Let's flip it over to the night here. Checking again, I'm looking at 5 dimes here. Rotation 903, 904. Cueto and Kershaw, the Giants and the Dodgers, plus 255. A nice price you can get on the Giants. How about Kershaw here, Jason? Minus 280 opening night. Total of 8.5. I'm leaning more towards here in my more rational form of taking it over. I've dubbed the Los Angeles Dodgers over the years, Jason, team launch angle. I'm going to go with the total over for them, the team total over for them of 5 at minus 110. I found that in FanDuel in New Jersey. Now, here's the difference here. FanDuel has the 5 shopping around. If you wanted to get a plus money number, you could take the 5.5 at 5 dimes at a plus 110. I'm going to sit on the 5. I'm going to root for runs. Give me some home runs, Jason. What are we looking at tonight between these two?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I actually had the Dodgers over 4.5 team total a couple of days ago. So I'm happy to hear that it's grown a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Cueto, he's played, I think, 13 or 14 games in his last 2 seasons. He's been injured throughout his last 2 seasons. 2017 wasn't too great. 2016 was his last year where he was an all-star. 2017, 2018, 2019, combine all those ERAs. It's an ERA above 4.5. He has an FIP, which is fielding independent of pitching, of 5.71 last season. Really, really bad. And you're going up against a Dodgers lineup that has some great lefties going, like Bellinger, Muncy. And then you have a guy like Mookie Betts coming from the right side, Justin Turner, who's performed really good against Cueto in the past. Yeah, this is a Dodgers all day for me, over 4.5 team total. Kershaw versus the Giants on the money line, though, a little scary. He's minus 2.7 units in all of his starts versus the Giants after going 29-18 against them. So he's won 29 and 18, but he's still in negative units. Also, though, Kershaw unders are profitable against San Francisco, 30-14, up 14.4 units. Really impressive. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stick with the Dodgers over 4.5 and just not worry about that other total with under. Because I don't know if you look at the Giants lineup, and I don't know if you have that with you, but if you look at the Giants lineup, I don't know how they're scoring.
Absolutely brutal, because you took it, Yastrzemski leads off, and then a lot of the guys, if you're not too familiar with baseball, are saying, are these actual Major League Baseball players? But we got a nice doubleheader set up. We're going to be here all season long right here at sportsbookreview.com. Jason's going to be providing analysis. I'll be providing analysis. But also, just do us a favor again, if you're watching on the replay or watching live, hit the subscribe button, get the notification bell on. Every Monday through Friday, 1:30, Jason and I will be here for a half hour breaking down Major League Baseball. It was nice setting the table for the season, and now it's time to produce. We're going to enjoy the game at 7 o'clock tonight. Jason and I will be back tomorrow on Friday, same time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on The Baseball Show on sportsbookreview.com.